This is the sound of the suburbs. This is the sound. This is the sound of the suburbs. Yeah. This is the sound of the suburbs. This is the sound of the
I'm on my way to the Isle of Wight, 4 miles across a fog-shrouded Solent. Though it's out of season now, it's Britain's most popular holiday island, and in the 60s was the site of 3 famous rock festivals. Well, 2 famous ones, and 1 not so famous. I went to the not so famous one, and gave my socks to a barefooted woman in the hope that she'd... she didn't, of course. In the next couple of years, 600,000 people took this trip to hear Hendrix, The Doors, The Who and many others, and I never got my socks back. Now the local music struggles to be heard, cut off from the mainland and with very few venues. I'm hoping to find out how the island's inventive youth survives on the other side of this stretch of sea.
Notice the way the sea breezes tug playfully at my hair. Very much get the feeling that you're on an island. I suppose it's small enough for you to be aware of its boundaries, even though you can't see them. And it's not an entirely comfortable feeling. Well, I can only go 25 miles in this direction, and it's the sea. Pretty stupid attitude to have, really.
I'm not surprised that the Isle of Wight is almost entirely dependent on the tourist industry, with all these apparently unspoiled beaches. In the summer, locals are swamped by 3 million tourists, but out of season, the island reverts to being overrun by pensioners, with 50% more here than the national average. Only a few more years to go, then. Of its many tourist attractions and theme parks, Black Gang Chine is the island's largest. I'm not sure if it's named after the black clay walkways leading down to the sea, or a gang of local smugglers. I first came to this Lilliputian world 10 years ago with my wife and children. This time Rosie, the drummer from Wargasm, was kind enough to accompany me.
That's where they put the straight one.
Though Wargasm have not recorded anything yet, as the only all-girl band on the island, they have managed to gain a small but lively following due to their raw enthusiasm, a punk prerequisite.
Tell us about the band then. How did it all get started?
Well, we got introduced by a lady that had another punk band, and she said, "Oh, this is Helen, this is Trudy. They're looking for a drummer." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm a drummer."
How much drumming had you done before then?
Well, I have not drummed in a band before.
You sat at home hitting things, annoying the family.
I learned it at middle school. I was in the drum cupboard.
Can't see a damn thing. You really can't touch it. Work your... Oh, there it goes. Oh, wow!
God.
That's really scary, isn't it?
I know.
Those houses there.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like to live in one of those.
No, they're going to go down soon, aren't they?
Because there's a part of you that secretly hopes that they go while we're standing.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a look?
Yeah, have a look.
You're going to have to pay me 10p.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'll let you have half of it. I reckon 12 years ago, that went out like another 30 or 40 feet anyway.
Definitely did. But it never falls away when you're here. It always does it.
Don't say things like that. No. That's tempting. Yeah. It never falls away when there's anybody standing on the observation.
With the island crumbling into the sea at half a mile a century, it's no place to linger.
Should we go back down?
That's scary.
It is quite good, this, isn't it? I mean, if I lived, I'd come here on my own, because then you get arrested. middle-aged men turning up at fun fairs. My head's too big. Mama, my head's too big. Perhaps it's just meant for kids, what do you think? Actually, it's not unpleasant. So obviously in the season, this place would be overrun with harassed parents and shrieking children and stuff. But what do you as an islander, what do you think about tourists?
The island really wakes up when it's summer and there's so many people around. It's really good because it gets more young people on the island for a change. It's really
So
good.
you're quite grateful for it, really? Then?
Yeah.
Do you get more gigs or fewer gigs in the summer?
More gigs,
Do you?
because like certain pubs have music licenses.
And what, just for the summer, you mean?
Yeah. Gets more people in.
What are your feelings though when they all clear away? Is there a slight sense of relief?
Yeah. And when they do go, for the first week it's like, whew, it's like back to normal again then, everything stops.
When everything stops, so do the gigs. The biggest problem is the lack of venues. Most of the pubs have no music licence, so bands can't play legally. Instead, the pubs have an extraordinary culture of duos, meaning only two people can play, which keeps the noise down, and customers can talk about loft insulation. Bands are driven into bedrooms, youth centres, and even barns to play their music. The Joneses are the most popular on the pub gig circuit, but they too haven't released anything yet. When the barn is not being used to fix cars, Chizz and the Joneses come here to play.
How long have you been doing this?
6 years, 7 years.
Do you do it for fun, basically, or do you see it as
both? Totally, it's like we've all got a real passion for it, and we want to take it as far as we can. But ultimately, it's the buzz as well. Yeah. It's like I like to think with most musicians, it is that drives them.
Certainly to start with, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
But it does become a job after a while.
Yeah, it can do. I find that where we just to get as many gigs as we want to play, we end up doing like geo stuff around the island just so I can play that much. You do eventually get to know the regular crowd that come in. It's like we play a lot in the hometown where we live in Newport, and it is you do kind of get used to it. That's why it's always good to get away. You can get a little bit complacent with it. Get away and do a gig on the mainland to a totally different audience, and you just like a bit of a kick up the arse that you need. Keeps you motivated, really.
Perhaps it's the island's council that needs a kick up the arse, and then the whole band could play instead of this duo business.
The Isle of Wight being as small as it is, it's not like even a small town on the mainland. Quarter of an hour up the road is another small town full of people doing stuff. Down here, it's the Isle of Wight, and there's only so many people. Everyone knows everybody else who plays in bands.
But also, I suppose if you play off the island, you have to pay for the...
Straight away, it's, what, 50 quid? That's before you even get there. Any expenses, you've got to think you've got to at least make 50 quid just to get somewhere. It does make a lot of difference, that bit of water. But it's a great place, really. It really is, you know. There is plenty going on. You just got to scratch the surface. There's all sorts going on, really.
But that bit of water is what keeps the tourists away for 9 months of the year. And with the island getting ever smaller as it slips into the sea, it's maybe just as well.
Actually, it's really swampy, this. I think I can ride this piece down through the mud.
When will you learn? I hate things you say. Yes, let's see. I'll get
16-year-old Lucy joined the band Void after seeing a notice at school advertising for a singer. Since then, Void have made quite a name for themselves around the island.
See, this is where the locals go, and this is where the tourists go.
So I'm making a mistake by heading towards the... Mind you, it's hard to say that it's not exactly jammed with tourists.
No, but it will be in the next few months, and it's quite horrendous. But as long as it stays the way it is, I'll be quite happy for them to be here.
Yes.
I like being near the beach, and you can't really go anywhere on the island without being near the beach.
No, that's true.
And I'm just really content here because it's all that I need, and it's so chilled out. It's just really, really calm.
Well, I must admit, standing here, I can see what the attractions of it would be.
I think if I want to get anywhere, I'll probably have to leave because there's not really that many opportunities. But it's a really good place just to...
Yeah, it'd be a wrench to leave. Then.
Yeah.
But she might have to. With no university on the island, a third of all school leavers go to the mainland.
I can see the attraction with places like London though. I don't deny it at all.
Well, that's because you're young and daft, you know what I mean? Well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you could have a few... I mean, I had 5 or 6 years in London and then thought enough is enough.
People think if you go to London, you know, it's all going to happen, just fall into your lap like that, but
it doesn't, and then you get disappointed. And even if it does, you know, the way the sort of music business seems to work at the moment, they do every week there has to be a new sensation. And if you went up to town now, you know, with the rest of the band, and you got picked up, and people made a great fuss of you, and then after a couple of years dropped you, there you'd be like 18, out of fashion, you know. And imagine what damage that does to you psychologically.
Yeah, exactly.
Much better to let these things happen slowly and naturally, I think.
The thing with the Isle of Wight is, this is going to sound a bit contradictory, but because there's not that much for young people to do, there is a bit of a drug problem on the island.
There is everywhere.
Yeah, and I think my parents would rather I be doing something constructive like playing in a band.
It's amazing, really. I mean, just those words would have been unutterable 10 years ago. My parents think I'm doing something constructive by being in a band. That is not something that people would have been able to say.
Yeah, and they know how much I love singing, and they know that it makes me happy.
Yeah.
And they're just, I think they're quite proud that I'm really getting up and doing what I want to do.
So they should be too. One of those lads have let us join in. The moment I've been waiting for.
You're dying to do that, weren't you?
I was, yeah, no question.